It's Vlogmas Day 6 and it is time for the December mock budget.
Hey y'all, so before I get this video started, let me give a quick shout out. These were the first 3 comments in my last video. If you want to be featured in my next video, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell and come show me some love when I drop a new video.
What's up, you guys? It's KeAmber Vaughn, aka CoachKe, coming back to you with another video. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and if you're not new, welcome back. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and also tap the bell so that you are notified of every new video that I post. So as you guys can tell by the title of this video, it's time to do the December mock budget for this month. How are y'all doing? Listen, I'm a little bit under the weather. I was starting to feel it yesterday when I had my niece and nephew with me, but it got so much worse last night and then this morning too. So I'm not like sick, like congested type of thing, but typically like around this time of the year, I have a flare up where I have this condition where the cartilage near my ribs and then like the muscle and tendons and everything surrounding my ribs will get inflamed. And I remember one year it got so inflamed that you couldn't even feel my ribs because everything around it was just so inflamed. It's horrible. But the thing that makes it worse is every time you breathe in or breathe out, it feels like somebody's stabbing you. So I have to breathe really shallow, but then I also can't exhale all the way. It's horrible. So I woke up in so much pain this morning because, of course, while you're sleeping, you can't control how deep you're breathing. So yeah, it's getting better. I feel a lot better than I did last night and this morning, but it's still not 100%. So let's go ahead and get into this mock budget because it's 3 o'clock and I have to start getting ready for work at 4:30. It's Thursday. So yeah, let's do this. So this particular person is a single woman. And she says, I want to say that I've been binge watching your channel for the past week and I'm very excited to start my debt-free journey. You've motivated me in so many ways to get my finances in check to lead a happier life. So I just want to say thank you. And I hope you pick me to feature this month because, girl, I am a mess. Oh my God, I just hurt myself. Oh my God, that hurt so bad. Listen, you're probably not as much of a mess as you think, but let's see. Okay, so the first payday is on the 6th. And then we have another one on the 20th. So this is good because this video will be coming out on your payday. So look at there. We got it right. And your income is $1080. And let's get a red pen for the expenses. I hope I pushed record up there. Okay, I did. Oh man, y'all, the pain. Okay, so she says rent is split between paydays, $150 on the 6th and $150 on the 20th for $300 a month. Let me tell you, that is the best thing for you to do. I tell people all the time, please split your rent payments up. I used to do that for a while. I was paying it like, most people do, just pull it all out on the first. But when I started to save a little bit each week, like basically saving a fourth of it every week and putting it off into an account so that by the time it's time to actually pay the rent, I just pull it out of this separate account and I just keep it moving. Like that made things so much easier for me when I used to have rent. All right, so I'm going to write rent here too. Okay, car note also split between paydays, and it is $267.05 on the 6th, and then $268 on the 20th for $535.05 a month. Y'all know on these mock budgets, not only am I showing you how to use my method, but I'm also going to give you guys suggestions. So we're going to talk about that car note. Okay, so car insurance is on the 18th, and that's $135.38. Now, this is what I will say. I think you're doing a really good job in the fact that you have made kind of like 2 of your biggest bills. You're paying it right on payday, so you don't really have to worry about it. I think that's a good thing that you're doing that. So there's a Wells Fargo credit card for $52 on the 18th. On the 22nd, we have Netflix. Let's $16.95. That's probably one of the family plans. I don't know. I don't use the streaming services because I use my Fire Stick. Use your imagination. I don't want to incriminate myself. Amazon Prime is $13.77. Walmart credit is $49.97. Then we have iTunes for $15.89. PayPal, I'm assuming, is PayPal credit, and that's $100. And I'm just writing out January's dates because she won't get paid again until January 4th. Let's see, Capital One is $65. And then student loan is $50. Shoo, it hurts. Okay, so variable expenses, she says groceries is $100, restaurants is $50, gas is $60, and then shopping is $50 as well. So you don't have a whole lot of variable expenses, so that definitely helps. Let me see. I can tell you're a little tight just by looking at the numbers, but let's just see how tight you really are. So we're going to switch over to this page here. And I'm just going to write out the fixed expenses as she gave me here, and I will be right back. Okay, sorry my handwriting is all jacked up. I can't move a lot because the muscles hurt now. It's really only on the left-hand side, but man, it's crazy. Okay, so what I really want to do is I want to credit card. So it looks like you have 6 debts. These two I'm not as worried about because I know the interest, well, I don't know, but the interest rate should be way lower than what your credit card interest rates are. So let's go ahead and actually, while I have this open, I'm going to go ahead and write in the variable expenses as well. Okay, so a couple of things I want to do. So of course we need to total up what the fixed expense amount is, but I also want to see how much money you have going out in debt payments. This is a really important number because people tend to write out all their fixed expenses and not realize how much is actually debt. So for you, your debt payments, $852.02. That's a lot, but it's pretty normal. When I first started my debt freedom journey, mine was, I think, $820 or something like that a month in debt bills. So let me tell you, when you get your debt together and this comes back to you, you're going to feel a whole lot better. But basically, your paydays are $10.80 every 2 weeks, right? You're essentially having to work almost 80 hours in order to pay just your debt minimums. And that's not good. So most of these you can't really control. Really, the only one you can control is this car note. And by control, I mean, it might be something where you have to look into possibly trading the car in, getting something cheaper. Maybe when you got this car note, your interest rate was super high. Maybe your credit was not good. If you've been working on your credit, hopefully you have. Try to go back and refinance this down. I remember at one point my car note, I had a 2012 Malibu. I bought it brand new. And it was really stupid because my previous car was a Pontiac G6. It was like a 2008. My car note was only $175 a month because I think my loan was only like $7,000. And I ended up having a $700 problem. So stupid me back then in my early 20s, I was like, well, why would I sit here and pay all of this money towards something I'm only paying $175 a month for? Let me get a brand new car, okay? Because then I won't have to worry about things breaking down. Well, then my car note went from $175 to $439.61. I still remember that number in my head. Eventually, and at this time, I was making $8,000 a month from my business, and this was before I decided to walk away from everything. But even with making $8,000 a month, that car note still eventually became too annoying for me. So I ended up trading that car in for a 2013 Volkswagen Passat, which is what I have now. And my car note went down to 262 35, 31, something like that. And that ended up being my car note that I had until I became debt free. But this is too much, because this is essentially, if you're getting paid 1080 every 2 weeks, you're working a whole week to just pay your car note. Like, when you think about finances and think about money and think about budgeting, one of the exercises I want you guys to start thinking about when you're making purchases, and this is just even everyday purchases, think to yourself, how many hours do I have to work at this job that I might not really love that much, where I have coworkers or bosses who really kind of piss me off. I have to deal with customers who really take advantage of me, whatever. But I want you to think about how many hours you have to work at your job to make that purchase. When you start thinking about every single purchase like that, and I don't mean like groceries and stuff, because those are essentials. When you think about your purchases in that manner, man, I have to work a whole week like just to pay my car note. That's when you'll start making some of the different decisions, and you'll start thinking a lot different when it comes to money and finances. I'm not saying you can't enjoy your money. I'm a firm believer. We got one life to live as far as we know. You want to enjoy your money, but you also want to enjoy it more efficiently and effectively, and not put out so much money. When you're working hard for your money, these people should not be getting paid. You should be, right? Okay, so I know that was a little soapbox, but I really have to start helping you guys to get into a different mindset. You know, people get really impressed with how I am with my finances. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn, but you guys have to understand it's because my mentality regarding money is a lot different than most people. And that's why I get different results than most people get. Did I have a different mindset at one point? Absolutely. How else was I $40,000 in debt? I might have been $26,000 in debt when I started my debt freedom journey, but at one point I was $40,000 in debt. So I made bad choices as well. But then eventually I turned all that around, because your girl ain't got time for that. Okay. So your total fixed expenses, $1,334.01. And I'm just going to scroll back through here really quick. So even though your car note is a little too high, it's not having as much of an effect. And it's because of your living situation. You not having a huge amount of rent or mortgage. You're only paying $300 a month. So I don't know if you live with your parents, have a roommate, whatever, but that situation is absolutely helping you out. Okay, so now let's get into the expenses. We have groceries at 100, restaurants at 50, gas at 60, and 50 for shopping. So your total expenses are $260 a month. Now, hopefully that's as accurate as possible, so that these numbers I'm going to give you are going to be as close as possible. Okay, so 1080 every 2 weeks means that, pull this down. The projected income is $2,160. The fixed expense amount is $1,334.01. So we have a net income of $825.99. That's actually, listen, if these are your real numbers, which I'm pretty sure it is, if you can keep your variable expense amount to whatever, like to this, let me tell you, I can help you out really, really quick. And I can just tell, because I can look at what your total budgeted expenses are versus what your net income is. Okay, so in order to come up with the checking percentage, we have to divide the total budgeted expenses of $260, because we're trying to figure out what percentage of what we have left over after fixed expenses is going to go to our checking, what percentage is going to go towards savings and towards debt. You guys know I'm a firm believer in saving while you are getting out of debt, because most people's debt freedom journeys are going to take them a couple of years. And if you are not saving during that time frame, once a real emergency happens, guess what? You're going to go further into debt because you don't have enough money saved up to cover yourself. And then you are just making things worse for yourself, right? So 260 divided by $825.99 is going to give us 31%. Okay. So while you are still in debt, I always tell people to go up to the nearest 10. Once you are out of debt, you can go up to the nearest 5. But we need to give ourselves this extra cushion, because while we are in debt, sometimes it's going to take a minute for our financial habits to start to switch over and us get a little bit better with our money. So we're giving ourselves an extra 9% of that cushion or error in case we overspend on groceries, restaurants, whatever. Now, with the 40%, we have to figure out what amount of our checks are going to stay in our checking for these variable expenses, but we can't put the 260 in there. Why? Because the 260 was 31%. We have to figure out what 40% of this money is. So we're going to take the $825.99, multiply by 0.4, which is 40%, and that's going to be $330.39. Which means that you are giving yourself an extra about $70. I think that's pretty good. Okay. So let's go ahead and switch over here. So that means that since 40% of our income, our net income, is going to stay in our checking for variable expenses, we have 60% left over. And I tell people to split that 60% in half and go 30 here, 30 there, right? So the reason why I do this, and it's a psychological thing, a lot of people have trouble on their debt freedom journeys when they're not saving money at the same time, because it's like, well, who's going to put $300 off to this debt if I didn't even, I don't have an extra $300 sitting around. So when you're saving the same amount of money that you're sending off to debt, psychologically, it makes a whole lot difference when you're ready to hit that submit button on that payment. Because like there were times where I made a $1,100 payment and it was like, whoa. But because I had just sent $1,100 to my savings, it really didn't hurt that bad. And, I didn't really think about it in that manner anymore. So let's take this $825.99. We're going to subtract the $330.39 that we had to keep in our checking. This is what we have left over for savings and for debt. So if I divide that in half, that's going to be $247.80 and $247.80. Now, I've had people ask me, so when do you stop saving while you're on your debt-free journey? I think, personally, that once you have funded your mini emergency fund, now if you want to do the $1,000, that's up to you. I say $3,000. I learned that from a different millionaire personally. But once you have saved $3,000 for your mini emergency fund, and you've also saved your true emergency fund of 6 months worth of your expenses, then I would say at that point, you can really halt the savings and then start throwing everything towards debt. You shouldn't really need a whole lot of sinking funds and stuff like that. The only sinking fund that I really approve of while you're on your debt-free journey personally, and listen, I don't know it all, but I'm just telling you, is the only one that I would say is the car sinking fund, because car repairs are going to happen, period. Outside of that, y'all, I just feel like my money is more important to go towards debt than to be giving people Christmas gifts and all this other stuff. But that's just me. I don't value things personally. So this is what I would say. Keep doing the savings until you at least reach that point. A lot of people should reach that point if they use my method, they should reach that point at some point during their debt freedom journey. I know towards the end of my debt free journey, I would put like $200 in savings, and then everything else would go towards debt. And that $200 would just go as extra in a sinking fund, which I think I only had one sinking fund while I was getting out of debt. Okay. So, and this mock budget is going to probably be a little long, but that's just because it's a little bit more education in this one. So let's go to the weekly. Do we want to go to no, I'm not going to go here just yet. Let's first go to the budget pre-plan. So we can see if one of your paychecks is shorting you out versus the other one. So we have an income of $1080. Oh yeah, this is going to be a long one. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write out all of the bills here, and then I will be right back to you guys. Okay, so just looking at it, you're a lot heavier on paycheck 2 than paycheck 1. And this can be an issue. If there's ever going to be a paycheck where you want to be heavier on, I would always say the one in the beginning of the month versus the end of the month. Here is why. when you're lighter in the first part of the month and you haven't gotten your financial habits together, you could feel like, oh, I have all this money left over. It's okay if I overspend a little bit. But then once you hit this second paycheck and you're much tighter, and now you're even more tighter because you've overspent and you don't have as much money left over after paycheck one, excuse me, that can really mess you up. The only thing else I need to put in is the budget. And it was $260, so we're just going to divide that in half. You actually, you might be cut. No, you should be good. You have so much money left over that it's not really going to hinder you completely as it would other people, but you still really have to watch it. Okay, so I'm going to do like always, and I'm just going to take the income and I'm going to subtract each of these and write out what's remaining. I just want to see the difference. So you're only a difference of $124 between paychecks. I don't think that's significant enough for you to make a whole lot of financial mistakes in paycheck one. So I think that you're good. So at this point, let's just go ahead and do this weekly allocations page so that you know today when you get paid how you need to kind of split everything off. So your threshold was $1334.01. So when you get paid on paycheck one, because your income is $1080, and I forgot, what did we do? 40, 30, 30. So the question you have to ask yourself when you get paid is, have I earned enough money to reach my threshold? Your threshold is $1334. Your income is $1080. That means you have not earned enough to pay for all of your fixed expenses yet, which means it is not safe to start putting money towards your debt, extra money towards your debt, or to start saving money. Now, you're still going to pay these things the way that they come. And this is not car note. I'm sorry, this is car insurance. So still pay these, and you're going to pay everything the way you normally do. Just know it's not safe to start allocating your income yet. So that means that, of course, once you get paid in paycheck two, when you get $1080 again, you will have enough money. So let me finish out this first one. I'm sorry. So 100% is gonna, this 40, 30, 30 is what we've allocated for the month per what we wrote here. But because we haven't earned enough to start allocating, that's why you're going to put 100% 0, 0. So now that we've earned enough with the 2060 to cover our threshold, now we're going to go ahead and do the 40, 30, 30 split. But here's the thing. We're not going to 40, 30, 30 this entire 1080. Why? Because we still had to earn a certain amount of money to get to our threshold, right? So let me get a piece of paper. And I'm going to show y'all how this is done. And then we're going to end out this video. Okay, so there's two ways of doing this, and I'm going to just go ahead and show both ways. So really the hardest math is the week that you hit your threshold. Before you hit your threshold, it's not hard. Keep everything in your checking. After you hit your threshold, if you still have paychecks left in that month, it's really easy because you're literally just going to split off. Because once you have allocated one time in the month, every single paycheck from there on out. So if she had another paycheck after we allocated this week, whatever that total paycheck is this week, she's just going to 40, 30, 30 it because we've already reached the threshold. So the only time you have to do really hard math is the week you hit your threshold. So you have two different ways. So the first way is for you to say, all right, the first week I did not hit my threshold, right, with paycheck one. My threshold is $1334.01. And I probably can zoom y'all in a little bit. Yeah, let's zoom it. Let's zoom it. All right, so I gotta make sure I don't go past here. Okay. Paycheck one, we only earned $1080. Now this is probably the easier math, but I think I always show the other way, and that's why people get confused. So that means that after paycheck one, I still needed to earn $254.01 in order to reach my threshold. So that means when I get paid again in paycheck two, let's scoot this up a little bit. when I get paid $10.80 again, in order to figure out how much of this is going to get allocated, I'm going to take out the $254.01 that I still needed out of this paycheck to go ahead and cover all of my fixed expenses. So if we subtract $10.80, that means I have $825.99 left over. How do we know that's correct? Where's the paper? $825.99. So now that I've reached my threshold with paycheck 1 and paycheck 2, this is what's left over. This is what we split 40-30-30, sorry. Now the second way of doing this, and I think this is the way that people always get confused with because I do it this way on my channel, but this month, starting this month, I'm gonna try to make sure I'm doing it this way to make it easy for people. Oh shoot, I just exhaled a little too deep. So paycheck 1 was $10.80. We haven't reached the threshold. Paycheck 2 is $10.80. Now we have. So that leaves us $21.60. This is the total amount of income that we've earned thus far this month. Now we're going to subtract our threshold. This is going to get us the same $825.99, but for some reason this way confuses people. I think this is the easier way. And again, we got the 40-30-30. So I'm going to continue on with this left side. So $825.99, we're going to multiply by 40%. That's going to get me $330.39. $330.39. And basically, when you subtract this amount, the checking amount, from whatever your net income is, you want to make sure it's an even number because remember, we're splitting this last remaining portion in half. So we have $495.60 left over. So we got $247.80 and $247.80. Now, if your income, like if you're not salary, let's say you're hourly, and like for me, for instance, I typically make $1166.25 every 2 weeks, working 2 days a week. So typically when I, like, let's say I stay 15 minutes later or I'm 15 minutes late one day, my check is not going to be the exact amount. And so that's why I always underestimate my income just a little bit so that I can give myself that room. So if you do earn a little bit more than the $10.80 every week, it's fine. Your numbers are going to be just a little bit off by a couple of cents, but it's not going to be a whole lot. So here's the thing. We can safely write this $247.80 into each of these. And we're almost done, y'all, I promise. But we can't write the $330.39 in. Why? Because if we put that here and then we add going across, we're not going to equal out to the $10.80. We're only going to equal out to the $825.99. So the way that we know whatever number goes into the checking on the week that we have to actually, we make our threshold and we have to do the actual math. Now I have to add this $254.01 back into the checking side. Why? Because this is what I needed to hit my threshold, which means this is what had to stay in my checking for our fixed expenses, right? So let's go ahead and add that up. So we have $254.01 plus the $330.39 is $584.40. Now, if I was to add going across now, we have the $10.80 that we earned for that week. So yeah, I don't think you're doing bad at all. The only suggestion that I would make, like I said, is looking into that car, because that's a pretty substantial car note. And if this is not, it's even worse if it's like a luxury car, because one bad maintenance problem or breakdown is really going to cost you a lot, especially, listen, I don't care how rich I get. You guys probably will never see me in a luxury car because I just think it's a waste of money. But like I said, I don't know if this is like a luxury car, a car with a super high interest rate or what, but I would really look into something with that car. But even if you keep the car, and it won't cause too much of a problem, but you will give yourself maybe an extra $100 each month for savings and debt payoff. But it's really up to you. So when you get paid this second time, take this amount, send it to savings right away. Take this amount, send it to your debt or whichever is your lowest debt, send this as an extra debt payment. and keep it moving. But I don't think you're doing very bad at all. You think you're a mess and you're really not, I promise. And then the cool thing about my method is once you pay off your first debt, so let's say your first debt is the Wells Fargo credit card. Now, when this debt is gone, your threshold is going to go down by that $52 a month. Okay. And this is the other thing. When your minimums are going down because you're starting to pay things off, don't continue to write whatever the first minimum was. Let's say that this is your highest debt, and after this month, you won't pay this card off, but now your minimum is $26 instead of $52. Your threshold, your total fixed expenses needs to go down because it's not $52 anymore, it's $26. So these are things that you have to be mindful of. And some people might be like, well, if I'm reducing it, no, listen. Reduce your fixed expense amount by however much you're supposed to because your debt minimums are going down, or your payments are completely going away because you're paying your debts off. This is the way the method works, and that's why it helps when it's starting to be accelerated, okay? So that is the way that things are. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and to whomever's debt or budget this is, I hope that you enjoyed it as well. Just email me if you have any questions, past this. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please thumbs up this video, subscribe if you haven't already. But other than that, I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow because it's the Vlogmas. Okay, bye guys.